All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the Magic Online Champion Showcase. Corey Baumeister, Anurag Das. We just had ourselves a really spicy first round of Modern, and now it's about to get even spicier. We're going to see our round 2 feature match, and it's some of our best players, if not our 2 best players here in the field, duking it out. Let's put this head-to-head up and see the players that we are going to be seeing in action. It is, of course, Yuuki Ichikawa versus Eduardo Sajgalik. Both of these players qualified through these gigantic open sealed events, which is really fun to watch. And lifetime win percentages here, pretty equal. I mean, Eduardo technically has the higher percentage, but with Yuki's sample size being like 5 times as much, I would think it's even a little bit more impressive from Yuki's side. But they both qualified via limited. We're not playing that anymore. We are playing modern. So let's take a look at Yuki's list. We did just see both of these players in action, so these deck lists will be a little bit of a refresher. And here is Yuki's really sweet Jeskai Narset list. Walk us through that, Anurag.
Yep, this is your Jeskai Narset deck. It is a Tamiyo Emery Mox Opal Artifact Synergy based deck with those cards as its core, and it features a couple interesting artifacts and other cards, most notably Corey Steelcutter as the threat of choice here, kind of a replacement for Underworld Breach, and also has Jeskai Ascendancy and the new Narset Jeskai Waymaster as an engine in itself. We got to see this deck do pretty powerful things with the Tamiyo Emery core in our first modern match, and now it's going to come back and leverage these artifacts to battle against Eduardo's deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool deck. I absolutely love playing this deck, and I love just watching it in action. It does some messed up stuff. So let's take a look at Yuki's opponent here. This is going to be Eduardo playing a deck we just saw here not too long ago, and a deck we've been seeing in the modern metagame here basically since, Guide of Souls, Ocelot Prides were put into the format. This has been a number 1, tier 1 strategy since it's really, since this deck's birth, I will say, Anurag.
Yep. Very powerful deck here. Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride as your core energy package, leveraging, Ajani, Nakatl Pariah, and Goblin Bombardment as other tools to either go wide or to just rapidly finish the game, when you have the 2 of them together. In fact, it's also incredible. And then your top end, which is going to be just the new Titan on the block, Flage. Very ridiculous card when combined with Arena of Glory, but also just kind of ridiculous in and of itself. And once again, a shout out to Voice of Victory from Tarkir Dragonstorm. We got to see a little bit of that card in action alongside Arena of Glory to put 1/1s into play with haste, which was pretty powerful. Also, denying the ability to cast spells on your turn for your opponents is a very powerful tool. And I think 2 is now kind of the new stock number for Voice of Victory in these kind of decks. So exciting to see if it's going to have if it's going to hold its weight in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was testing, I didn't test it. Boros Energy not necessarily is my absolute favorite deck, even though I know it's just incredibly powerful. But when I tested this match playing the deck from Yuki's side, I found the matchup relatively easy, especially with those whip flares in the sideboard, different ways to have some removal post board. So I would say small advantage to Yuki, but of course, let's let the games do the talking. These players are ready to go in the feature match, so let's jump on down. All right, starting it off with Yuki on the bottom and Eduardo up top. Looks like we have Yuki on the play, starting it off. There we go. Scalding Tarn fetches it up, and the hands from both players look excellent. Both of them look amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn 1, Tamiyo, followed by turn 2, Emery here for Yuki. This is basically like textbook opener from the Jeskai side. And on the other side, cheap threat in the form of Ocelot Pride. You can go big with, this is like the most amazing curve, right? Ajani into Goblin Bombardment plus Static Prison if you'd really like. We'll see how Eduardo wants to proceed with this turn. Has to make a choice whether you want to deploy the Ocelot Pride or remove the Tamiyo with the Static Prison. Yeah. And tension to both options. You can definitely feel it. If you play the Pride here, you are, more aggressively slanted, but then the Tamiyo unchecked, we saw what happened with that in our first match. Static Prison doesn't have the energy yet to sustain itself past, the second, third turn, but, literally in the deck, it's called Boros Energy. Maybe it'll find a way.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I think this was a huge play by Eduardo because if Eduardo just played Oscillate Pride, the one play Yuuki could have done is like sack the bobble, draw a card, and then repeal your opponent's Oscillate Pride, flip Tamio after you attacked and got the clue. So that would have been a nasty play in favor of Yuuki.
Yeah, and I think we also saw this in the last match as well. Eduardo does sort of value the control elements of this Boros energy deck. It is looking to slow the game down where it's applicable, and then, you know, just use the value threats in the form of Ocelot Pride, Ajani to take over as needed.
Okay, so I want to get everybody, make sure if you're watching, you know, a different screen or something like that, it's time to pay attention because we are about to do the thing. Look at what's going to be available next turn. You can sack this bobble. You can use Emery to get back MOCS Amber. You can use MOCS Amber to repeal your MOCS Amber. And then at the end of all this, you can play Narset. So per my calculation, we're going to play MOCS, repeal, MOCS, Tamio, Narset, draw 5 cards at end step. I think that's how this is going to work.
All right, let's see it. MOCS Amber in play. I mean, that alone goes to show you the power of the Waymaster and why it has earned a slot in this artifact deck.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the Waymaster.
So I can't imagine you don't want to repeal here your MOCS Amber unless you want to hold it for something, because it's kind of a case of you use it or you lose it here as, you know, if you want to discard your cards at end step, you know, they're going to discard them anyways. You might as well just draw more cards. So MOCS Amber, bounce MOCS Amber, and just goes for that instead. Okay, that is another option. So that does represent 1 less card. So I believe we're going to be down to, 3 cards instead of 4. That was actually 2 less cards, and we could have had a Tamio in play. So that was a real cost.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it really shows you that Yuuki is valuing the tempo elements. Like, this is basically Yuuki saying, like, with my hand the way it is right now, I could draw 5 cards, but there's a real possibility that I might get run over if you have a card like Goblin Bombardment. And turns out Eduardo actually does. So this is a very heads-up play here by Yuuki, sort of trying to make sure that, you know, even though I could draw, I have 3 extra cards, it doesn't really matter if I can't control the board. Neither of these decks, well, especially the Jeskai deck, is not really good at cleaning up a board that has gone wide. And so I think this is where Yuuki is, like, giving up resources to stop the snowball from turning into an avalanche.
Yeah, totally agree. You can't really do any sweepers for game 1. Post board, you have Whip Flare, and I absolutely love this. I was even up to some in the main, but Flage, you know, you get to just fight fire with fire here. When you're able to play sweepers and Flage and still have this aggressive element, you know, it ends up being very difficult to sideboard against and just, you know, to try to get through Yuuki's control elements as well as the proactiveness that you can find.
All right, so we see basically what we expected to happen. Goblin Bombardment is going to go after the Emery here, which I do like because it allows you to... The Emery is basically a tool that powers the Narset Jeskai Waymaster, and, you know...
Oh my god. I mean, you can make your point, but we're about to just have the most messed up turn here once again. Like, I am sorry to interrupt you, Anurag, but we can go Corey Steelcutter, Portable Hold the Cat, attack down a Johnny, Portable Hold the Static Prison, get back your Tamio, and then at the end of all this, draw 6 cards, draw 5 cards, whatever it may be.
Okay, I'm sold on this card. You know, I was originally like, Narset, I could kind of see it, but this is just a next level of absurd. This is the kind of hand that we were talking about when Yuuki battled against Belcher in game 1. The explosiveness, and it's gonna also just this is unsurmountable. I think at this point, right? You're gonna draw so many cards
100%. He is going to draw, I believe, 5 cards, and now you can use this portable hole. You don't even have to deal with the cat if you don't want to. You can just get back your Tammy if you want, but now you have 8 damage coming in. The Narset deals with the Ajani, 5 damage upstairs, and end step, as long as Yuuki Ichikawa clicks yes instead of no on would you like to use this completely busted ability, then I think we're going to be all set. And oh my goodness, I am just, I just can't even.
You just get to do it again next term.
You just get to do it again. Yeah, so if you ever let Narset go, I mean, it's just GG. And you got to think, hey, there was that turn where Static Prison came after the Tamiyo. I think it was the best play at the time. And, I still would have made that play from Eduardo's side, but Narset gets to hang around now. I don't know if it would have mattered because you just portable hold the Static Prison and then you do all this again. So, yeah, I mean, Yuuki's deck is insane.
I probably don't have to do the math here. This has to just definitely be lethal, right? We have Repeal, we have MOCS. Yeah. Okay, wow. That is great. I mean, this is getting to see what this deck can possibly do, like at its maximum capacity. Gives you a great idea of, how much of a contender it can be in the format. Yeah.
100%. And you had the option of just like repealing your empty portable holes too to have some extra stuff going on, but doesn't matter. It looks like, Eduardo went to -11. And I think that is the good game. I think that's the game where Eduardo, I still don't think is favored, but I think that's the game where it's closer. And now I think it gets just horrific for Eduardo post board. If we can get all those whip flares in, take out some of your artifacts, sure. Take out your ascendancies. I love that. I don't think ascendancy is needed in this matchup, especially when your opponent has Thraben Charms, they have wear tears, all that kind of stuff. Now, if we're not bringing in the other whip flare, that's kind of wild to me, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, the reason that I would contemplate this is that, whip flare, this is the one that's going to kill everything that is not an artifact. So, yeah, it does seem like there's a world where you want to keep your Emeries around. There's a world where, you might get rid of a monk token that is not equipped with Corey Steelcutter. But he does bring it in. Yeah, he does bring it in, acknowledging that it's pretty powerful. I mean, it might be like the best card that you have in your sideboard. Yeah, so happy to see it in. Interestingly enough, putting high value on cards like Static Prison and Goblin Bombardment, acknowledging like I'm probably not losing to the creatures in this matchup, but more so the utility spells. So we are going to bring in those copies of Wear Tear to sort of fight there. And then, this is not a matchup where you really care for Jeskai Ascendancy. So I do like to see that card get cut from going from pre-board to post-board.
I swear we had 2 whip flares in the list for Yuuki, but I'm only seeing the one in the 75 just in general, which is kind of strange to me. Maybe we had a mistake on our graphic or something like that. But hey, 1 whip flare, better than 0.
Yep.
All right,
and on the other side, one card that I do want to shout out is that Wrath of Skies. It is probably one of your best cards in the matchup because it takes care of all the threats. Not just one, not just 2, all the threats.
And it's even better when your opponent's removal spell of choice is Portable Hole. Like, whenever you get to destroy all of the things on the battlefield and then you get back some things, like, oh, baby, that's exactly what you want.
So here from Yuuki's side, this is a little bit slower of a start. You do have the removal spell for the Guided Souls, which is great. Sets you up for either Steelcutter or Emery on turn 2. Likely the Emery. We'll see what the Narset is going to be able to do. But otherwise, Eduardo, only has the Wrath of the Skies as interaction. His job this game is going to be finding out how to balance greed versus power, I guess. Like, on one hand, you want to get as much as you possibly can out of the Wrath of the Skies, but at another point, Yuki's going to start snowballing and then realize, like, the only way I can lose is this one of Wrath of the Skies. Here are a bunch of Mishra's Baubles that I'm going to put into play to mitigate the impact of that kind of card.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I just think of Wrath of the Skies in the last game we played, and it's like, okay, sure, if you Wrathed, you still get that activation from Narset at end step, and you just restocked your hand. It's like, Narset itself, I think, is a great answer to Wrath of the Skies naturally, as it's restocking your hand anyways. That being said, losing all your stuff, especially if you have stuff under Portable Hole, is still going to be devastating. But I do think Narset actually helps out in the Wrath of the Skies department a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I guess let's also talk about the other conflict here with Wrath of the Skies, which is like, it will kill your own creatures. So you also need to find a way to make sure that it is optimized in your favor. I will let Eduardo figure that part out, for he is much smarter than I am. But it does involve probably the first step, playing a bunch of creatures out, baiting Portable Holes and so on.
Yeah. Step one, Seasoned Pyromancers, draw some cards, getting rid of at least one of those lands, maybe the other Pyromancer as well. As getting rid of just 2 lands there feels a little bad, and gets rid of those. Finds a Flage, which is a fantastic card to kind of go into the long game. Now, that being said, Yuuki does have that Tormod's Crypt available, so we'll see what's up. This can definitely be a Corey Steelcutter into Emery, get the monk going, and that play seems perfectly reasonable to me.
Yep, attacks on 2 angles, which I'm kind of a fan of, and I think the way that this is set up right now too is that you could Wrath for X equals 2, but you can't Wrath for the full board, which would kill the Seasoned Pyromancer and would kill the Emery. If you Wrath for X equals 2, it's not even good on this board. Like, you do get your Guide of Souls back, but Emery just gets to bring back the Corey Steelcutter, and the game is still kind of at parity.
Yeah, this feels like a Flage here. Deal with Emery, and, from Eduardo's side, be like, I'll just bring that back, and go from there. That being said, we know about the Tormod's Crypt, so it's not the best play, but, even if Yuuki were to draw a card, and this Flage just deals with Emery, you can go Narset, Portable Hole, Crypt, end step, draw 3 cards. Even if your turn ends, Eduardo's turn ends with tap out, Wrath the board, you still have 3 cards that you just drew, so, like, it's not the absolute worst regardless. 2 damage coming in from Seasoned Pyromancer here, seeing if we want to do any blocking with a monk, or if we just want to take it.
Oh, interesting. Oh, with the Tormod's Crypt in our head, I do like this trade here. We can mitigate the backside of value of that flashback. And honestly, knowing about this Tormod Crypt makes me particularly sad to cast the Flage because of the Seasoned Pyromancers in the graveyard. But I just don't know if you really have a choice here otherwise.
Well, Eduardo doesn't know about it, right?
Oh, sorry. Apologies. I thought he had knowledge of it. My bad. Okay.
No, I don't think so. So yeah, I mean, it's just, why not jam, But and God, the one thing that Narset is so amazing at right now, and oh my goodness, we're gonna see it happen. We're gonna see another busted Narset turn, and that was even better than a land. That added a 4th card. There's no energy for Eduardo, so it having 4 toughness is incredible right now. And Narset is not only the Jeskai way, Narset is just the way.
I'm down. I see the light now. This card is absolutely incredible. And I mean, honestly, the thing that shocks me too, Boros is usually like that mid-range value king, right? It is the deck if you want to trade resources and come out ahead, like you play Boros. But Narset by itself is definitely changing my mind here. I am super, super impressed by it.
Yeah, and honestly, after playing 1 league, I cut the Ascendancy, I added a 3rd Narset to the main, and I've considered going up to 4. I even played a Flage in the main. My deck, quote-unquote, could not combo kill anymore because you don't have the Ascendancy, but who cares? You're drawing 5 cards a turn. You can piece it together,
Yeah, absolutely. So here it is, Narset trigger on the stack. We're going to draw our whole hand of cards, and that feels good.
Yeah, and now the Crypt goes right away so that there's no ability to just play a land and go from there. And sure, Wrath of the Skies, honestly, it can't even Wrath right now because of the land choice that Eduardo wanted to play last turn. Not playing the Parlor there ended up being kind of brutal, as now he had to burn the discharge for basically no value. But that being said, Wrath of the Skies here, deal with the battlefield, get a Guide of Souls back, then play Ocelot Pride, and trigger the cat at the end. This is still pretty nice.
Yeah,
so
see, this is
still
what I was
very
talking
much a
about.
game.
This is what I was talking about. This is when I say Boros is the value king, like because of this kind of stuff that can happen, right?
Yeah.
Despite Narset drawing 3, 4, 5 cards just there, like Eduardo's position still seems decent. You've got the combo, Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride, and sure, your opponent might have like Tamiyo's and Urza Saka, but you have a small window where you can try to run over. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, City's Blessing also coming online. Like Eduardo seems pretty good.
Yeah, I actually think being able to top deck that Ocelot Pride was huge, because if it's just Guide of Souls here, that looks actively embarrassing. So that Ocelot Pride there was really impressive. And now we have the ability to play a Saga, You know, you can start cranking out constructs that are going to block any of the creatures on Eduardo's side except the one that's about to jump. And oh my goodness, we didn't play a Saga?
What?
Oh, that's why. He saw Blood Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was a mind reader. Then I saw there was Mishra's Bauble in the graveyard, and all things make sense now.
Oh, that's so brutal for Yuuki. That just shut down both cards in hand, and Blood Moon is going to be that last card to ascend. That was a devastating blow there for Yuuki. Oh, vomit.
Yeah, I feel like Yuuki was completely advantaged this whole time, and now the table has just turned out of nowhere.
Yeah, now, I mean, you're left with just red and white lands, too. Like, okay, great. You know, I mean, that is good. You do have the ability to blow up the Blood Moon, and I feel like you 100% have to get your Sagas going, but still in a lot of trouble. So, can attack with Tamiyo. You can use 2 of your mountains to draw a card, try to find something.
Yeah, I think if you draw Whip Flare exactly here, you're actually in a decent spot.
Oh, yeah, you win the game if you draw Whip Flare here,
Yeah.
but with just going Saga, I think Yuuki is still very much behind now, thanks to that top deck Blood Moon. And like, oh man, banger after banger.
This now we're in like that classic Boros energy like game where it's like, all right, we were at parity, and then my opponent drew one top deck, and that snowballed into another top deck, and now it's over. All right, like, well, okay, barring Whip Flare, of course, but you know.
Yeah, and I mean, Whip Flare's okay now because one of these creatures is going to be no, 2 of them now. We're up to 6 energy, so now it's over. Because Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls are unwhip flareable, if that's the correct terminology. I'm pretty sure it is. And
I checked the
can't
dictionary.
imagine.
I see it.
It is, right? Okay, good. And now I don't think there's much to come back from. Like, sure, you can start with maybe a Flage. Flage would be a solid start here from Yuuki. But yeah. We missed the window, and I feel like a lot of things had to go right here for Eduardo, but the Blood Moon plus that Ocelot Pride was just so perfect and very well played by Eduardo as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see one more top deck here for Yuuki Ichikawa. Can he find something to give him just a little bit more, one extra turn, perhaps? I mean, even now that I'm thinking about it, we don't even have like Jeskai Ascendancy in our deck, and combo killing is like maybe the easiest way to come back. But like simply Narset's not going to be enough.
But that's the thing, like even Ascendancy right now, you play it, you're dead. You know, like you'd have to play it into find an Emery, into somehow give it haste. Like there's just, all those avenues just don't exist, you know? Shadow Sphere is the draw, and Narset plus Sphere could come down. And that is going to do it, and we're going to get a game 3 here.
Now, this is really fascinating. I see that Eduardo actually did not board in the High Noon in that game number 2, and I have to wonder if maybe that was a what kind of evaluation process went in there.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it would be at its best against like the MOCS Opal, MOCS Amber, Emery Tamiyo kind of deck.
Sure, but you can play all your stuff on turn 1 and stuff, like, you know, Yuki's going to play out his things most of the time. You know, so like I feel like you already get on the battlefield. Then if you High Noon, like sure it shuts down the Corey Steelcutter aspect, but think if you just like, all right, I'll play an Emery, say go, end stack, make a construct, and you're like, nice High Noon. You know, like
yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the you sold me when you said basically if they just like vomit their whole hand on the first turn, then it's gonna be tricky to really leverage the power of High Noon. So that makes sense. I can see that.
Absolutely.
But this is kind of exciting, kind of leveling here with the Blood Moon Mind games. We're going to slice down on 1, probably because we showed it. Now we expect Yuuki to perhaps play around it, which does kind of remove a little bit of its power.
Oh, it definitely does. Yeah. And I mean, we saw the power get removed a little bit when you just, saw it on top. So that ended up being a very big thing as well.
Well, you can even literally see it, right? Like Yuuki has actually cut a copy of Urza's Saga.
Yeah. Yeah. The deck plays 4, then you can go down to 1 if you want. Like, I've seen some lists that think some players that think that Saga is just not great in this list because when it's an Ascendancy deck, because it's just hard to cast those cards. I am not of that camp. I am just thinking Saga could be the best card in your deck, as you just go so wide with artifacts that, sure, don't count it as a land, count it as a spell, but there should be 4 in the deck.
Well, speaking of best cards, how about another turn 1 Tameo, turn 2 Emery? That seems really good. And, you just drew the Whip player too. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is the draws that you just live for, is these kind of things from the artifact-based decks. I am in love.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side, we do see the combo, the 1-2 punch of Goblin Bombardment and a Johnny. The duplicate copy of the Bombardment is not ideal. It's not like we're really expecting any of our spells to get countered, but you play multiple copies so you can draw them. Sometimes you draw more than one copy. It is what it is. I will say, though, this is, on average, one of the slower hands, I think, from Eduardo's side.
Definitely. That Guide of Souls was supposed to be on the top of the deck. To be able to play that. And Emery just did one of my favorite things. Flip over a Portable Hole. Let's go. Portable Hole and Emery is just so incredible. We saw it a little bit from 4-color Breach decks. I believe it was, dang it, now I'm bricking on his name.
David Inglis.
David Inglis played it, as well as Canadian Superstar at the RC the week before. Edgar Megish. Thank you. Edgar kind of popularized the Spire of Industry Portable Holes things, and flipping them over with Emery and being able to bring them back and deal with hate pieces was incredible. But just being able to Portable Hole anything, game 1, game 2, game 3, it's just a go-to removal spell in the format, and it's especially good against Boros. When you can Portable Hole a Johnny or Goblin Bombardment or Static Prison, any of those kind of things, you got yourself a very good card for 1 mana, especially when it works well with Opal and Emery still.
Yeah. See, this is really, like, and the thing about the Portable Hole is, like, the impact is, like, I cannot understate it. Right now, Eduardo had a really good turn of just playing the Goblin Bombardment and passing. Then next turn, you could play the Guide of Souls, play the Ajani, use the Goblin Bombardment, and, clean up the board. But
yeah,
flipping literally exactly Portable Hole puts an entire stop to that, because the turn that Eduardo is taking off gets massively punished from a tempo perspective by that Portable Hole. So really good card in this matchup and in this deck.
Now, how does this work? I'm not a billion %. I'm pretty sure it doesn't flip a Johnny, but if you repeal the token, it doesn't count as dying, right?
It should not.
Does it still flip?
Dying,
I
believe,
didn't think
has
so,
the not insinuation, but it just means kind of has to go to the graveyard in some capacity.
Okay.
I'll let the judges explain that part better, but I don't think bouncing it is the same as going to the graveyard or anything like that.
I don't think it does either, but, that is something that is available at end step there. You could have even got a blue-red land and kind of started from there. But, being able to just bring Portable Hole back from the yard, still excellent.
All right, so we'll see what the Meticulous Archive does surveil. Any artifact is decent. I guess
there was a Mox Amber to the yard.
The best card here that we could draw into is probably Narset, right?
Yeah, I would think so. And now the one thing that I would be afraid of from Yuki's side is that it is a one of, too. It's a one of Wrath of the Skies, so I wouldn't want to be playing around it too much. Not bring
that's how they get you, Corey. That's how they get you.
That is how they get you. I mean, it's only a one of. They can't possibly have it, right? So it looks like we're going to see a clue get cracked right now, see if we can find another land. And, ooh, there's a solid plan B. Flage coming down. That's going to be an excellent card to play next turn to kind of play around the Wrath of the Skies going to blow me out plan.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I do want to highlight that Yuki has once again used the repeal token, used the repeal on the Ajani token, sort of cementing the sort of combination of value proposition. It's like 1 mana to draw a card and bounce your token, but also, playing around the potential synergy with getting that Ajani to flip by a Goblin Bombardment or other means. It's just interesting to pick up the tendencies that the best players in the games are making and taking, and adapting it to your own play style.
Yeah, Absolutely. I've already learned a good chunk here from watching this tournament already. It's fun to watch the best players do it. And right now, even with Yuuki missing a land drop, Tamiyo flipping, that kind of thing, just huge advantage to Yuuki here. And Yuuki's even stumbled a little bit this game. And I feel like, even got a little unlucky last game. So it still looks to me like this Jeskai deck maybe isn't even prime in its best possible list. And it still seems like it has a good matchup against Boros. And hey, if you're playing an open modern event, that's the number one matchup that you're going to play against. So having a good matchup against that is very good.
Yep. You know what card I think I've been thinking about it? I'm ready to cook, Corey. Let's put Jolted Awake into this Jeskai deck. How about that?
It adds 2 energy and you return something
An
for
artifact
the
or a
amount of
creature.
energy, right?
Yeah, an artifact or a creature.
Man.
So could buy back Corey Steelcutter, could buy back Narset, Jeskai, Waymaster. Just say I'll take the apron off now and go back to what I'm actually paid to do. But
wow, no, that's what you're paid to do. Keep it up, chef. Thank you, chef.
Solid draw here though from Yuuki, which is the Wear Tear.
Yeah,
very good answer here to the Goblin Bombardment.
Now it will be very interesting what we do because, well, this portable hole, we didn't kill Emery beforehand, so there is a plethora of options available. And all of them pretty good from Yuuki. It'll be interesting what we want to do here. I would think the number one thing I would want to do is tick that up. I think that's the easy part. Get that out of the way. You don't want to tick down for a repeal and then let it die to a Goblin Bombardment. So I think that was the only easy part of this turn. Everything else, I'm not even going to speculate. I'm going to just let Yuuki do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this too, and I'm just kind of wondering, what is your actual win condition down the line? And with our current setup, it's probably some combination of, Whip Flare to clean the board and then put Flage into play, to handle the rest of the game. But I guess my question is flashing or escaping Flage with this deck is no easy matter, right? We've got MOCS Amber, which only makes blue or green, and then we have the Island. Neither of these cards actually cast Flage, so I'm kind of interested.
Fine. It's fine. I mean, look at this combo right now. Flage comes into play. You target something, tap that MOCS Amber for white. Well, it's on the stack. Let's go.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that so much. Okay. That is so cool. I didn't even see that.
Let's see if Yuuki sees it. I mean, MOCS Amber is so... Yeah, right now that MOCS Amber adds everything but black. Or it did, at least.
All right.
So now here comes the portable hole. Is this going to go at the Bombardment or the Ajani? So now Eduardo is forced with, do you want to kill Emery or not right now? Funny.
That's a tough question. My gut is to say yes because we have 2 copies of Ajani in our hand. But
yeah.
Also, it doesn't really feel good to lose our 2-mana investment for next to nothing.
Yeah, this could very well be a game that it's Wrath of the Skies or bust. Because, I mean, look, if we had Wrath of the Skies for 1 on this turn, the game's probably over in favor of Eduardo. That's how good that card is in this particular spot. There are going to be situations where it's not amazing, but this would have been one of them where it is lights out and Yuuki just had to just pray, cross his fingers and hope that it wasn't there.
All right, there it is. Ajani, the Nakadal Avenger. Thanks to the Goblin Bombardment, it is now in play, has targeted the Tamiyo, which is good. I like that. Tamiyo kind of is the lone threat here, whether it is threatening the ultimate or, the potential to downtick. I guess there's still only repeal as a target, but, value is value, and that's one of the ways that you can lose from this board state.
Yeah, or you just keep it going up and force Eduardo to keep, interacting with it. I think both options are very reasonable. And the one thing that you can do, oh, wow, this could be spicy. I'm not sure if this is possible, but you can return repeal, use that island tap MOCS Opal for red, repeal it, replay it for a second red, white with the Meticulous Archive, and if we draw a fetch land, you could escape Flage right now and win the game. So that repeal line, if we find a land, that is online, but is it worth the risk, kind of, is what Yuuki has to think about.
Yeah, I mean, if you balance it against the other play, which is what? Destroy the Goblin Bombardment, play your Emery and your Tameo. Seems a little bit safer to do that, if only because Emery can maybe find like another MOCS Opal or something that she can bring back to cast the Flage afterwards. Plus, Goblin Bombardment, like, it always feels like this Boros deck will have a Goblin Bombardment in play and then just like randomly do all sorts of like, sorcery and witchcraft to like,
Yes.
kill all your creatures and your planeswalkers and your life total. So I like not taking a risk here.
I like it too. And now repeal does come back, so that's interesting. Can just deal with the cat straight away. No land, which is a bit of a tilt, but now has the option and almost the assured play of, well, just play two things, whether it be Tameo, Portable Hole, and now you have blue mana for Emery. And still has so much gas in the tank. Once again, if Wrath of the Skies came down, it would still be too devastating on this battlefield, but not the case. But Eduardo has a fantastic turn where you can... Oh my, wait, can't you go Arena of Glory and give a Johnny haste and Season of Pyromancer haste? I don't know how amazing that is, but I mean, I guess it for sure kills Tameo.
Yep. It's a strong play here. I think just like drawing the Seasoned Pyromancer off the top alone is enough to apply Eduardo for. It's kind of giving me vibes, the Ocelot Pride vibes from the last game. 1-2 punch. We'll see how Eduardo plays it out.
All that. So what can happen here and what's probable to happen is a Johnny, then Seasoned Pyromancer. If you give them both haste, cool. If not, whatever. And then you can kill your opponent's Tameo. But then Eduardo's going to be left with a battlefield of a Johnny, Cat, Seasoned Pyromancer, and then, Whip Flare is ready to go and just Wrath the entire board. And does look like Eduardo's going for that exact play, and this guarantees that Tameo is dead. Meow.
Wow. Okay, hold up. That's actually kind of crazy. I was going to say, like,
Scary.
the silver lining there is that after you get Whip Flared, you do still have the two cards that you draw off of the Seasoned Pyromancer, and those were two really good cards to have drawn.
That is very true. So another brick on the land, but another thing that can happen here is, well, you can flip a Tameo again and maybe Whip Flare and then bring back Whip Flare for these other Ocelot Prides. But I think this battlefield just feels a little too juicy to not Whip Flare. Like, I want to bring back this Bobble, then Whip Flare, then play Tameo, then play Emery, and I guess that's all you can do. You got 4 mana, but that play sounds amazing. Your opponent has no battlefield. You have Tameo, you have Emery, you're drawing an extra card off Bobble, and you end the turn with a Crypt and a Tameo in play. Or a Crypt and a Tameo in hand.
Yep, can't complain about that at all.
And it looked like Yuuki looked at the top, too, to make sure. Wait, you got to float blue off that... Oh, no, you don't. You can just play a legend, but that was almost a train wreck in the making.
Yeah, I think advantage bar would certainly go towards Yuki's position here, though, right? Tameo now going to be able to draw extra cards. And really all we're even looking for at this point is just like another... Oh, we have the MOCS Opal in the graveyard now. So can we Flage?
No, because now our MOCS Amber is pretty far away. So we can Flage if we top deck a land or another MOCS.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all Yuki needs to close this game out, it would seem. And Eduardo's not drawing Wrath of the Skies. Otherwise, this Bobble, you would have played that differently. So 5 permanents, we get to get up to 8 permanents, but these Ocelot Prides don't get to trigger. And now, honestly, who cares? If we don't have a Whip Flare to clean them both up, you're for sure casting a Flage from hand to kill one of them and gain some life. And already that feels like insurmountable.
Yep, absolutely. I'm not even sure. I think it has to be like exactly a Guide of Souls or something to really just kind of snowball this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, yeah, that would give you like City's Blessing. You would be able to like start going wide, and that's maybe where things start to get scary. But having the Flage in the graveyard and now the fresh copy in the hand really just buys Yuki so much space. Whoa, didn't play the
second one. Okay. Interesting. I mean, once again, Yuki is on turn 7 and hasn't drawn a land at all. But still kind of doesn't matter so far as Tameo comes in. maybe we start by drawing a card. You kind of can because you can always, bring that opal back from the yard. Is it a land? It is a land. That represents Flage being escaped.
Wow.
If
okay.
Yuuki wants.
Yep. And I do like that play. I think there's no real way for Eduardo to come back.
Doesn't want to do that. Okay. Now, that could spell some scariness. Probably not, but the one thing I would want to see Yuuki do here is play that Tormod's Crypt no matter what. I feel like the way you lose is you surveil Flage into the yard and you Arena of Glory it.
Oh, yeah. Those are the kind of fringe, play scenarios that I don't think you're able to cast in the moment unless you've literally experienced it before. So, Corey, my condolences to you for whenever that happened.
I mean, wasn't it the last MOCS we did? Wasn't that just like the turn where there was one sack end step, just no way for that Boros energy mirror to end any differently, and then
it was the one card that could have brought him back from game 2. I remember, yeah. So if that ever happens to you, you never forget, So I like that Yuuki put that crypt down there to be safe, and now. Here's the thing is Yuuki wants to play this Tamiyo, but Yuuki recognizes, hey, I can't bobble you to see what you're going to draw because you have a fetch land, and it's not worth the risk at all. So might as well just do this. So it's also funny because if you don't, oh my goodness. What?
Okay.
Wait. Okay, that's actually kind of crazy. There's one thing to consider technically, Eduardo has the play of main phasing Flooded Strand into Elegant Parlor, into flipping the Flage, which the Tormod script cannot do anything against.
It can, but you have to respond to the surveil, which is less than ideal,
Exactly, yeah. So Flage would still stay in the graveyard, but you wouldn't have the cards to escape, right?
Correct, if you hit it, yeah.
The fact that it was there, though, that just tells you you're in a field full of merciless killers. I swear, that is crazy.
Well, let's not live in magical Christmas land because we would have had to shuffle with Flooded Strand first. So,
the best players always have it there. That's my experience.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right then. So now the awkward thing is the Tamiyo has still ticked up, so Ocelot Pride does not attack for any damage. Flage can only deal 3 to Tamiyo, which is not 4. Double check my math on that, though, Anurag. And there's no way to remove the Tamiyo. You can only injure it. There's no way to bring back Flage, so I think every single avenue spells, very, very high percentage chance that Yuuki is going to win this game and match.
Yep, I agree. I'm not seeing it either because you don't have a way to, maybe if you could gain life with the Ocelot Pride, if you could trigger City's Blessing somehow this turn, sure, maybe then you can start to snowball a comeback.
Well, you can because Flage will gain the life, so you can ascend and you're gonna get a lot of tokens, which is great. Okay, so the crypt is going now, forcing the action if you want to Pyromancer or whatever. Doesn't look like that's the case, but what? We have 5 lands, we're about to have 6. Ocelot Pride 7, Other Pride is 8, Flage is 9. Flage is going to go away, and then at end step, each pride is going to go off. The first pride will just put in 1. The second one will put in 4? 3? I'm so bad at the pride math, but the second one...
As a control player, you're asking the wrong person. My only answer is, all right, here's a supreme verdict. Doesn't matter how many you make. So
yeah, so it would be 4 cat tokens at end step is what I would think it would be, which is great, but in the face of Tamiyo ticking up, it just doesn't matter,
Agree, yeah. And I'm going to also say one thing here about this Tormod script play. It makes sense to us understanding, that Flage being surveilled is kind of a crazy thing. But for Yuuki to realize this in the spot, I think it's a very... it projects a lot of confidence where you're saying the only way I can lose this game is by you... some radical chance that you flip Flage, it goes into the graveyard, and you bring it back. Yeah. So I'm just going to take that option out, and then you will have literally nothing. and that's how you this is Yuki's game to lose. So
yeah,
remove those options basically, right? Smart.
The best players always slow down in these spots. Like I think Yuki has played a lot slower in these last 2 turns because you're like, all right, I have this now. Like what can I possibly lose to? And I think the only answer was that surveilled flage. So now here's the Oscillate Pride, but here's the big problem, Anurag. Like sure, if you play this, you're gonna end with 6 1/1s. Tamiyo just buys back Whip Flare. Or just ticks up and who cares, you know?
Yeah.
Like we've gained the life. Oscillate Pride is an 0-1 if it attacks. So let's see if I got the 4 cats right. I think the math still isn't quite advanced enough for us to know for sure.
I'm going to guess 4. I'm going to guess 4 total, not 6. Yeah. That's my random guess out there.
4 total. I agree. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're geniuses.
Hey, there we go.
We are geniuses. Yeah, that's what I meant as well as 4 tokens. I don't
6
know
cats because of the 2 Oscillate Prides. No, I get you. 4. They're all. Yeah. I mean, we'll just go through the motions at this point, and then after we, either Whip Flare or we Flage, we have, after we Whip Flare or we Flage, we still have Corey Steelcutter. We still have Narset to play out as well to just continue the value proposition. I guess, okay, so here's the downside to Whip Flare. Like, if we're truly spending the last moments of this game maximizing every 10th of a decimal percentage point here, one thing to consider is if you Whip Flare, Seasoned Pyromancer is kind of a scary card, and that could be a brutal top deck. So what is your plan for that? That's kind of like the trajectory that I would go for. So in that regard, perhaps actually Whip Flare is like not the move because you actually don't want the Ocelot Prides in the graveyard in this instance. Just thinking out loud of like random stuff that might be going through Yuki's head during this turn.
Yeah, it's all the corner case stuff, and it is a case of like you need to draw super well. Ragavan off the top is not going to really do anything. These Ocelot Prides can't trigger, nothing to be able to escape. And now, we're getting close to that territory. Like, it might even be this turn where you just go, all right, tap a blue with Mox Amber, repeal it, play Narset, play Corey Cutter, play Bobble, end step, discard this Flage, draw 4.
Yeah. I guess the one draw here, let's also evaluate the impact of Wrath of the Skies as a potential top deck here for Eduardo. Yeah. I think it'd still be decent, right? It'd
still be good, but...
Because you get your Goblin Bombardment and your Rajani back, which is, no joke.
Yeah, the one thing you can do if you're a Yuki, though, is repeal one of them in response, and then that falls to the Wrath of the Skies as well.
Okay. So it seems like we're still covered here.
Yeah, so, maybe here's going to be... And this is Yuki saying, okay, I just want to make sure my Monk lives. I guess it would live in the face of a Whip Flare anyways. Oh, my goodness. There's another 0 drop. We're doing it. We are doing it. Now you can go. Okay, I guess we are 1 short of Whip Flaring and casting Narset, so we might not even want a Narset. It's just like, is it even needed?
I'm just curious. Is there a way that we could just win this turn? 6, 9, 6. Wait, this is just lethal. No, it's not.
This is just lethal?
No, we need 1 more spell. I think because we go 6, 12. Yeah.
That's 15. Yeah, we're going down to 1. I like it. Did Tamiyo not even attack too? Just like, yeah, whatever. I don't need it.
Yeah, Tamiyo playing on defense to stop a top deck Ragavan. I don't know. I obviously not, but just like when you're so far ahead that you can live this life of luxury, it's nice.
Yeah, and that's the Arid Mesa. Here is a dashed Ragavan, and Tamiyo being held back does prevent any nonsense draw off Yuki's deck, so big brain play as Tamiyo's going to get blocked. We're going to see Arid Mesa can sack. You can get Elegant Parlor to surveil something into the yard. That's 1 card short of Flage, and that's going to do it here. It looks like Yuuki Ichikawa is going to be our first finalist, and in impressive fashion. And I think this is a very good lesson for all of us that love Modern and hate losing to Boros Energy, which is, most of us, that maybe this is the deck that answers Boros Energy. But I will say, I've played this deck a few times as well. You have your bad matchups. You don't want to play against Amulet. You don't want to play against Storm. And those matchups can be tricky. Maybe Is It Prowess would be tough as well. So it has its flaws, But if your sole plan is to beat Boros Energy, Yuuki's deck is pretty nice for you, Anurag.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked very impressive there. I mean, the combo turns with Narset were just like, I was so happy about it. And if anybody does have success with Jolted Awake in this archetype, please leave a comment below so I can live vicariously through you. That could be really cool. I don't know. Yeah, the archetype does seem like it has a lot of potential and potential for optimization.
Yeah, I know there was some Reclamation, the Sylvia's Reclamation. I know you're a fan of that card.
Love
you can,
that card.
bring back some of the Jeskai way and stuff like that. I found that card to be unnecessary as well, and I cut it, and I feel validated that Yuuki also cut that. Incredible streamer, almost everybody's favorite streamer for sure. Andrea Mangucci had been playing a lot with the deck, so it was fun to watch there. But you might have thought we were done for this round. Absolutely not. We are going to head into our backup feature to see who our opponent is going to be in the finals of this modern event. We got Yuuki Ichikawa, who's already waiting for one of these players. We're going to be jumping in to find out who is going to be playing him in a final to see who plays the grand final against Ryan, our Vintage Cube winner. So here's the stats from these players, both very impressive stats. Baku91, I'm also a huge fan of. He was in my chat, I believe Friday. I was doing a stream, and I was like, well, how you feeling, man? And it's just like, I'm very nervous. I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. And I'm like, oh, man. I mean, this is a huge tournament against some of the best players in the world. That makes a lot of sense. And Alberto has a very spicy deck that we're going to get to here in a second. But first, let's take a look at Jesse Hampton's list. Jesse is playing Goryo's Vengeance with Ketramos. This deck is really sweet. This is our first time seeing this on the broadcast. And Anurag, this was a deck that did really, really well at Pro Tour MH3, or, more aptly known as Pro Tour Nadu. This was a deck that Matt Sperling ended up going just a very casual 10-0 with in the constructed portion. Didn't do the best in limited, so I ended up taking 9th place at this, but gave this deck, this is a true story, by the way, gave this deck to Kai Buddha, and Kai Buddha goes and plays a RCQ on Sunday, at the Pro Tour. The pro players alone get to play in this kind of RCQ event. I guess it's just a PTQ. Yeah, you're not qualifying for the regional champ, but you just straight qualify for the Pro Tour, only available to the people who crashed and burned out of the Pro Tour that are not in the top 8. And, well, yep, you guessed it. Kai Buddha ran the tables as well and won that event with this Esper deck as well. So really impressive stuff. Walk us through what's going on here.
Yeah, so the Atraxa Goryo's Vengeance deck is your de facto reanimation style strategy in Modern. Basically, the one goal is to get Atraxa Grand Unifier into play and then, use Ephemerate to really just get very, 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 very ahead on cards and win the game that way. You've got tools like Tainted Indulgence, Psychic Frog, even Philology Archaeologist to get the Unifier into the graveyard, and then you use Goryo's Vengeance to put it back into play. You've got a lot of interaction as well, being in the Esper colors, Prismatic Ending and Solitude to handle permanents in play, also extra creature removal in the form of Fatal Push, and then a little bit of hand disruption in the form of Thoughtseize, which can double down as a graveyard enabler if you really, really need it.
Yeah, Thoughtseize yourself. Turn 2 Goryo's. Sign me up. All right, and I mean, this deck is cool, but it is nowhere near as cool as Baku91's list. Let's take a look over here. Alberto playing what? This is looks like Temur Breach, but instead of Breach, you're playing Song of Creation. Looks like Temur Breach at home. Is that correct?
Yeah, so from the ashes of Underworld Breach's legacy, so to speak, we have an interesting take on this combo archetype featuring Song of Creation, and the goal with this deck is to leverage the artifact package and synergies of Tamiyo, Emery, and MOCS Opal to really get Song of Creation into play. Once you have that into play, you go hard, right? You keep playing zero mana spells to draw cards, draw cards, draw cards. You've got even tools like Flashback Lava Dart, Noxious Revival. You can go like MOCS, bounce the MOCS with the repeal. You really are trying to power out all sorts of card draw as much as possible. And then you win the game either with a lethal Grape Shot, or you draw your whole deck and you play Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. So this is going to be a very fun deck to watch. Let's see how it handles the layers of disruption that the Goryo's Vengeance archetype will present.
Now, all this being said, Anurag, I want to throw a hypothetical. Like, let's say you have a Song of Creation in play. You just played your hot new card. You played a Mox Amber. You got another Mox Opal in hand. And there's 4 lands on top. And you just brick. Like, do you think the fail rate of this comes up pretty decent? Or do you just play such little lands that it doesn't matter?
Well, I do think that, there is a reasonable fail rate for this deck. It's not like where if you have, Grinding Station, a 0-mana artifact, and Unruled Breach, you are locked to win. Song of Creation, when it first came out, did see a lot of exposure to the modern format, and it just didn't really hold up to the test. But since then, we do have a couple new cards, specifically like Tameo, cards like Malevolent Rumble that should, give you a little bit more consistency. So I do think that fail rate exists. I don't think it's as high as before, and I'm honestly just here to see somebody draw their whole deck with the Song of Creation. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, that does sound super sweet. And I gotta say, that card's from Ikoria. Yeah, maybe it got overlooked because, God, I feel like there was something else pretty busted going on in Ikoria. Maybe some mechanic. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Sounds like our players are ready to go. So let's jump on in. It was Companions, y'all, okay? That was my low-hanging fruit. That
we don't say that word around here for people who remember. Back in the day when you could just put Lurrus into... Okay, all right.
Oh, come on, baby. I was on the camp of immediately play Fires of Invention with Yorion, and whenever you got to play Yorion for free, oh my goodness, that was busted. That was some of the most fun I had before they errated that rule, I must say. So, all right, getting into this match, huge game of Magic. Jesse Hampton is up a game here. We're starting in on game number 2, and getting it going...
Does look like Alberto is on a mulligan to 6 here and has a decent start with a turn 2 Emery. If we can get another artifact or 2, then we could maybe we could get the Song of Creation out a turn early, but doesn't look like that's the case here. So I like this. I mean, this is your de facto bread and butter. See what we can kind of get done here, though. That was not a great flop here for the Emery, so we'll see if there's a way for Alberto to recover.
Yeah, so Surveilled, we didn't see a card into the yard here from Jesse, so that obviously meant it was going to be a land, as we didn't have land number 2. And now we get to Thoughtseize away a card in hand, and Fatal Push away this Emery. So do you just take both Emerys, or do you take the kind of namesake card and take the Song of Creation?
I think I will be honest, I'll chalk it up to my inexperience, but taking the Song of Creation here really speaks to me, because even if it's just like in play, there's a chance that you can untap, have 4 mana available, and then you draw like a 0 mana spell, and you're just off to the races. So I feel like Emery is a lot more manageable, especially given how poor the first 4 cards were that were milled by the Emery. I think
all you have is a Mox, huh?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, cool. I have Goryo's Vengeance, Ketramos, and a variety of other tools in my hand. And of course, in classic fashion, there it is.
Thoughtseize Bug.
Yep. Song of Creation just right off the top.
Thoughtseize Bug, that of course is not real, or is it? Because I feel like we've all experienced it plenty of times. I like not Thoughtseizing away the other Emery when you're for sure already going to do it. Now, here's the thing. Do you Fatal Push right now before you flip over any cards?
I like this play a lot.
I love it.
Very, very
Jesse's
heads up, very strong.
Jesse Hampton is a sicko, so there we go. Fatal Push deals with this Emery. You can... target the Mox Opal. It doesn't do anything. And that's going to do it for both of the Emerys. So played masterfully. As far as Jesse knows, there's not a good card in hand, too. Alberto did top deck kind of best possible. And here we go. Now it is on Slacks. On Jesse Hampton, we have the Overgrown Tomb as the draw. And now what do we play? Do we just... get Ketramos going, or do you try to get some of the other setup?
I kind of want to put my best foot forward, and I don't know if... Well, I guess my options would be Ketramos to use up all my mana, or something like Psychic Frog to maybe like draw a card a little bit early. But I guess we also have, Falaji Archaeologist, and in this case, Jesse's rewarded, drew the 4th land. Now we can play 2 spells in a turn, leading with the Archaeologist probably in case we want to spike something like Atraxa, perhaps.
Yep, definitely a possibility. And here comes the Psychic Frog. Now, Psychic Frog does do some nice work with Ketramos, like exile these 3 cards just to give it flying, even if you're not going to attack. You get to draw a card, you get to set up some more things. And there's land 4, and the Archaeologist coming down. Sorry, it looks like we're a little out of sync here when it comes to these cards, but here comes down the Archaeologist. And there is Gristlebrand to be able to bring back that Ephemerate. And now we're all good to go to Goryo's Vengeance this back next turn.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, it comes down to 1 draw here for Alberto. The odds are not in his favor. You know, this is a deck that has a lot of free spells, which means you have to play fewer lands. So let's see if Alberto's able to do it. Even an artifact isn't going to be good enough. I mean, it does feel like the heat is up. It's dialing up, and we get 1 turn and a lot of luck to maybe get off here.
Yeah, Eye of the Tiger. You basically have 2 draws after your Song of Creation. Drew the Repeal. Oh, did we not have a Surveil land to try to set up land 4 on the top? Maybe not, huh?
I think there's so few that you can't really afford to play a second one.
Yeah, they do play 2, actually. There is another Thundering Falls, so that was a conscious choice. Just kidding, it's in the graveyard. That makes sense.
There we go.
So now, I mean, you know, yeah, Alberto had no option there. You can repeal either the Frog, or you can just repeal your own MOCS to try to do something. I think I like just getting rid of the Frog, you know, bouncing your own MOCS. There's no way where you're going to play Song of Creation, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm trying to wonder, I'm seeing here if there's any way for Ketramos to attack this turn, but the reality is Bristlebrand's just going to come into play, draw 7 cards. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Jesse is at 9, so we do need to be a little bit careful here. Ketramos is a mandatory trigger.
You get to draw first, as I don't think there's any risk following anything. And then you can find a way maybe to exile some cards with Ketramos and go from there. And there is the downswing and the upswing. And honestly, there's a Force of Negation, so we're done here. Like, that's enough. That's really all you really need. You know, the Gristlebrand, sure, it's just popping off. There's an Ephemerate to make sure it sticks around. Jesse's going to end this turn with 7 cards. One of them's going to be a blue card. One of them's going to be a Force of Negation. And you're going to have the ability to have Ketramos and Gristlebrand in play. And this is going to end Alberto Manchado's tournament in the regard of making it to the World Championship. So kind of a non-game here. And I would say, as cool as this Song of Creation deck is, this doesn't seem like the matchup that you want to run into. The heavily interaction Goryo deck, you know?
Yeah, I do kind of get the feeling, and this is a great example, just to show, like, you know, 2 sides of arguably the same coin, Underworld Breach versus Song of Creation. The fact that Underworld Breach only costs 2 mana is a big deal here, because in this game, you could have, if it cost less, maybe you could have done some more stuff. I mean, you would have had enough mana sources in play at least to cast it and, you know, give an attempt before the Force of Negation was drawn.
Yeah, exactly. Cast it the turn before, and, you know, obviously different deck, you would have had to have Grinding Station in your yard, but no matter what, just Breach in that position, you would have played like 5 cards from your yard, you know?
Yeah. So this is much more of a balanced take, which I think is appropriate for the format. I'm kind of curious to see where this archetype goes. I think there is some potential, but I'll leave that to the players and the talent to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all these decks all these players that were Breach gamers that, you know, they're just hanging on to trying to find something that's similar to it. Hi, it's me. You know, that's exactly what I've been doing since the ban, but there are tens of 20s of us that are still trying to keep that deck alive. But that is not the main story of this weekend that Underworld Breach is banned. It is next round. We are going to see Yuuki Ichikawa up against Jesse Hampton to see who's going to the finals. Any prediction? We have kind of, you know, the cool decks, the Corey Steelcutter versus the Esper Gorios deck. Who do you think's favored? I kind of think it's Jesse.
I'm gonna say, you know, at this level, both of these are tremendous players. So it really does boil down to their deck selection. And game 1, it doesn't really feel like the Jeskai deck is that interactive against the Goryo's archetype. Post board, things will get a little bit more, involved, but that edge alone, I think I'm going to give towards Jesse. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, it's going to be really exciting, so don't go anywhere. We will have the finals of our modern portion right after this to see who is going to play Ryan in the grand finals, and of course, who's going to go to the World Championship. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here at the Magic Online Champion Showcase.